Hello friends and my dear students, today I want to first of all I want to say you wish you a happy Holi. You can see there are a lot of colors on my face. May your life filled with so many colors of happiness in future. Now I am going to describe my next topic that is concerned with the constitutional development of India. As you know very well that I have started my lectures only for English medium students, and I have taught you 3 acts which comes under this chapter, constitutional development of India. These were the Regulating Act of 1773, the Act of Settlement 1781, and now I am going to teach you the Pitt's India Act of 1784. Now I will describe you what was the reason behind the Pitt's India Act. In other words, we can say what was the reason due to which the British government has passed another important act which is known as Pitt's India Act. Sorry for a while. Now the Pitt's India Act is important like other acts. So first the question arises in our mind, why we called it Pitt's India Act. So why we called it Pitt's India Act? Actually this act is prepared by William Pitt. During that time William Pitt was the Prime Minister of Britain, and whatever we are going to study in this act, all the suggestions were given by the William Pitt. That's why this act became famous as a Pitt's India Act. This act has also historic importance as well as constitutional importance. Now we will study each and every point of this act. Now this act started from the point that the first provision of this act was that we find a separation of power. We find a separation of power in this act. First time. What is the meaning of separation of power? Because you know very well that before the 1784, the total activity of the company, whether it is trading activity or political activity, both were controlled by the court of directors. That's why the court of directors were enjoying the monopoly of the trade and management. Hence, we see here that this burden of both trade and management had created a lot of pressure on court of directors. That's why we find so many irregularities and mismanagement in 1773. That's why British government had to interfere in the company's affair through Regulating Act. Now William Pitt gave decision that there is a need of separate body within the company to control the political affairs. It means now British government was going to take away the political affairs and management of the company from the court of directors. It means court of directors will manage only the trading activity of the company. See, listen carefully. The court of directors will manage only the trading activity of the company, and as far as management and political affair of the company concerned, it would be handled by the board of control. Now there is a new term before you, board of control. It means a separate body would be established known as board of control to control the company's management. Here we see that the board of control belong to the British Crown. It means all the member of board of control who were going to control the management of company, will be appointed by the crown, not by the company. They were the separate people. The number of members board of control were 6 and they belong to crown. It means they were appointed by the crown. In other words, we can say the company was going, the British government was going to create a dual government system within the company. You can also say here is a starting of dual government system within the company. What is the meaning of dual government system? When a system is handled by different bodies, then it is known as dual government. We find the system of dual government was first started in Bengal. When the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha were given to the Britishers and the administration of the Bengal were given to the Nawab. But this is another thing. But within the company we find the trading activity was going to be controlled by Court of Directors and the management of the company were going to be Board of Control. And these were the two different entities. Just as in Bengal 1765, the economic affairs was controlled by Britishers and the administration was controlled by Nawab. In the same way, in company, the trading activity was being controlled by Court of Directors and management of the company were being controlled by the Board of Control. So, the question has been asked many times, when the dual government system started within the company, then your answer will be through Pitt's India Act 1784. Here I have focused to make you understand what is the meaning of dual government within the company. It means now parallel to the Court of Directors, there will be another body which was known as Board of Control to handle the company's political power. It means without the Board of Control, company cannot sign a treaty with the Indian kings. Company cannot appoint any other officers within the company. It means all the management of the company would be handled by Board of Controls. All the political decision will be taken by the Board of Controls. Now we come on the another point. Through this act, it has been stated that the areas occupied by the company would now be considered British possessions. It means this is another important point. Note it down. Here we find a first step. Of crown sovereignty in India over the company's territory acquired in India. It means all the company's region in India would be considered as a British possessions. It means whatever the region or territory company has acquired, it would be considered as a British region. Note it down. It is a very important point here is that now the British Crown want to show his sovereignty in India through the company, but indirectly, not directly. Now another important point is that Governor General was given power that if provincial governor fails to run his province, then the governance of the province can be taken away directly in the hands of Governor General. This point is same as we find in our Indian Constitution Article 356. You can compare this provision with the Indian Constitution of Article 356. What is written here? It means if in this act it was made provision that if governor of the province fail to manage their province, then the governance of the province would be taken directly by the Governor General. It means if governor of the province fails to manage their own province, now the provinces will be handled by the Governor General. You know very well, in Article 356, the same thing has also been mentioned. If state fail to manage their own administration according to Constitution, then the state will come under the control of President, as it happening in the Manipur. You know very well. So we have already told you, so many provision of Indian Constitution came from these act which has been mentioned in Constitutional Development of India. So it is necessary to study every act, because every act, in every act you will find the seeds of Indian Constitution that has turned into a tree later. So I have described you all the important point, but now another important point is that under Pitt's India Act, it was made provision that the number of member in Governor General Executive Council, that the number of member in Governor General Executive Council has been, the number of member in Governor General Executive Council has been reduced from 4 to 3. Another important point is that the number of member in Governor General Executive Council has been reduced from 4 to 3. Now you know very well that what was the meaning of Executive Council. You know very well that in 1773, when the Bengal governor was made Governor General of Bengal, then an Executive Council was made to advise the Governor General, and the Governor General was bound to take decision on the advice of Executive Council, and there were 4 members in Executive Council. But in 1784, the number of member in Executive Council has been reduced from 4 to 3. Okay, these were the main points of Pitt's India Act, and the most important point of this act, through this act, British government applied a dual government system within the company. Okay, and all the East India Company region would be considered a British territory or British possession in India. Now, after knowing this act, we will try to revise some other acts that I have taught you already. Okay, now give a bird's eye view on the previous lecture, because it is very necessary to make a connectivity among all these acts, because without making connectivity you cannot understand. Only memorize the fact is not enough. Without understanding the connectivity among these acts, you cannot maintain it for long. Okay, so first now I am going to revise the act which I have taught you already. First of all, the 1773 Act. Now it is a revision. Just give a bird's eye view. What was main provision under the Regulating Act? First, a Supreme Court was established. You know, the Bengal governor was made Governor General of Bengal. Third, company employee will not carry on their own business without the license. It means in 1773 Act, it was made provision that without the license, any company employees cannot start their own business. And the next point is that the term of board of directors had been increased from 1 to 4. Now we come to the another act known as 1781 Act. I have revised you already. Under 1781 Act, it was known as the Act of Settlement. Why we called it Act of Settlement? Because this act has removed the confliction between the Governor General and Supreme Court. You know, because this act had to brought in India because there was a lack of clarity of jurisdiction between Supreme Court and Governor General. And the main point of this act was that the law made by Governor General and his Executive Council were excluded from the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. It means the Governor General would handle revenue issue and the Supreme Court would handle criminal issues. And the law made by Governor General and their council would not come under the purview of the Supreme Court. So we find also a separation between judiciary and executive. If I ask you in which act we find a separation between judiciary and executive, you can say, sir, this is an act of settlement in which we find a separation from judiciary to executive. Now, another point was that I have taught you the next act is known as Pitt's India Act, and all these things I have revised you clearly in yesterday class. So, if you have not seen this lecture, you should see the both lecture, Regulating Act and Act of Settlement. After that, you should try to understand this act that I have taught you today. Okay, thank you. I hope you will like my lecture, and this lecture will remain continue, and in upcoming lecture I will make you understand the another important aspect of Indian constitutional development. Thank you very much. Wish you a happy Holi.